Alrighty, so now just to put some names on some of these things, this section here is called the plinth, P-L-I-N-T-H. Now we're going to run our line here. We're going to put this line here, I'm going to run this top line that's just underneath the top of the base. I'm going to put a little mark here so I can see. I'll just do it above, makes it easier. And so here, I'm going to run a straight line here. And this section is called the torus. T-O-R-U-S. And so if you remember, we're going to draw a diagonal line here and come down. This gives us our radius. And we're going to draw a curve and straight down and another curve. So the same thing over here. I can draw a diagonal line here and I can find this point here. And then this will be a curve. And this will be a curve. So that's called the torus. And then above the torus, we have a small round area. So we're going to divide this into two parts here. It's going to be called a bead and a fillet. So I'm going to divide this into thirds as well. It's going to be very small. So this is divided into thirds. And so above this point here, we're going to have another curve. Above this point here, another curve. And then a straight line here. So this is called a bead. And the one above it is called a fillet. And so after that, I'm just going to make this small mark here at the diameter, and with my pencil just kind of lightly raise this up, straight up and down. And now I'm going to do my small quarter circle mark here. And that is called the conge, C-O-N-G-E with an apostrophe above it. So what I'm going to do now that we've got all this in, I'm going to erase this middle line here and some of these extra marks that I made. I'm going to erase the circle, and I'm going to erase this part of the center line. And it doesn't have to be fully erased, but I like to get it out so it's not extremely visible. And a little bit in between here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken the space between the plinth and the torus. I'm going to make that a lot darker. And between the torus and the bead, I'm going to make it a lot darker as well. And the space between the fillet and the bead, I'm going to make a little bit darker as well. And then the bottom line as well. So that's more or less what your base should be looking like. And so now, a third of the way, well, we'll do that later. Now we'll do the top. So in the same way that we divided this circle, into half, I can take this same measurement from the center point here, just tighten it, and I'm going to make a circle here. Like so. And the same thing here, let me just make sure my compass stayed on point, as we say. Yeah. So, so there, now we have the distance down for our capital. So I'm going to just draw a straight line from this point. Well, I'm just going to draw it over a little bit like this. So I'm just going to write here on the edge, I'm going to write 8D and just make a line like this across and then straight down like so. So that, you know, it's 8 diameters high. And so now we're going to do the same thing that we did for the base. To make it easier, I'm just going to go the same distance, half of the diameter, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to put half, mark here, turn the compass, and put a mark there. So I know that this is the same distance, and then I'm going to go ahead and also divide it into sixths, and you'll see why in just a second. So, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Good. So I'm just going to make this slightly darker. 1, 2, and 3. So that's slightly darker. I'm going to do this again on the other side. 1, 2, and 3. So 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So remember, at the top of the column, the shaft, so we'll label this later, the shaft is narrower at the top than at the bottom. So at the top, it's 5/8. So on the number where we have labeled 1 and labeled 6, we need to find the halfway point. So I can use my compass again as a divider and say if that's, so this will be, I'm going to make a small mark here, and I'm going to use that same measurement for here. Let's see, I just want to make sure something. So we're going to do this halfway mark right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw a light straight line straight down. Well, that's not straight, perfectly straight. Straight down. And then straight down. So I just trying to make sure about my measurements. They got a little bit off. So yeah, there we go. That's gonna work good. Okay, so the reason I'm doing it like this is because I think it'd be easier for you guys to use this without a ruler. So now I'm just gonna draw this horizontal line across. Like so. And now we're going to divide the capital into 3 equal parts. So let's do this right fast. 1, 2, that's too big. 1, 2, so it's going to be a little bit larger than that, maybe right here. 1, 2, 3. So now that's divided into 3 parts, and I'll just go ahead and draw these lines straight across. Like so, and then we'll move on to the next video.